Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. Hope you're all doing well. So today I've got another comparison review for you, and again it involves the Puma Fast-On Nitro Elite 3. I think we have to keep reviewing this shoe against some of its rivals, basically because it's hard to get this shoe, although there was a drop in the UK today, so those that were after this shoe, I hope you managed to get it. It was the mint colorway, I think. But anyway, those that didn't, obviously still watch these reviews so you get a good idea when it does become readily available whether this shoe is the right kind of shoe for you. And today it's going to come up against a real Goliath in the super shoe marketplace, and that is the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, not the Edge Paris today, Sky Paris. So the reason I picked these two shoes, I think they're very different shoes and very, good for different types of runners. But there are some key similarities between the two shoes that we'll go through during this review. So I'll go through some of the key categories like stability, durability, speed, price, etc., etc. We'll talk about the kind of race lengths, 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathons. We'll talk about foot strikes, forefoot, midfoot, heel strikers, to give you some idea of who these shoes are best for. In my respect, if you've not watched any of my videos so far, I'm about 5'9", I'm quite light at about 63, 64 kg. I'm a forefoot striker, so everything I say is going to be biased towards forefoot striking, and obviously I'm not the heaviest of runners, okay? But I used to be a heel striker, so I will talk about heel striking in these shoes, and we'll also go through who I think these shoes will be suitable for. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a summary of which I think, of the two shoes, I think is the shoe you should spend your hard-earned money on. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like you to watch the run footage because you get my thoughts as I run with the two shoes side by side. And also in the comments, if you've used either of these shoes, if you like them, if you're interested in the Puma shoe but you're not sure about it, ask me any questions. And with the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, if you haven't used this shoe yet, feel free to ask me questions. If you have and you really like it, ask me any questions about how it compares to the Puma shoe, but we'll try and answer them in this video, shall we? That's all I want to say for now. Watch the run footage and we'll come back for the full shoe head-to-head review. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. Hope you're well. It's a nice sunny afternoon, just having my lunch break, and I thought I'd do another head-to-head comparison for you. Today I'm going to be doing again the Puma Fast-On Nitro Elite 3. Sorry about that, I know you're getting sick of this shoe, but it has to be done, lads, it has to be done. And we're going to go head-to-head against the Puma with the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. I think it's a good head-to-head because there are some similarities between the two shoes. You get really nice toe spring off both, but there are some fundamental differences as well. The placement of the plate, for instance, the foam itself, and also the geometry of the shoe is very different. But actually I think some people who do like the Sky Paris will also like the Puma shoe. Just depends on the type of runner you are, but we can go through all that with a proper review later. But for now, let me show you my experiences on the run and show you actually the two shoes side by side, as I'll do it now. You couldn't get much difference looking shoes, could you? And of course I'm sticking out like a sore thumb down my local park, so I'll get loads of weird looks as always, not just because of the shoes, because it's me. And but I'm doing this for you, right? So let's have it. See you later. Bye bye. Okay, so let me start the run. As you can see, both shoes, I'm not lying to you, I am actually running in them. Okay, let's go. Okay, so first impressions. It's quite a difference in terms of impact when you land. So with the Asics shoes you get quite a nice kind of pitter patter, encourage you to have minimal ground contact. Both seem very light, of course, but the Asics shoe seems even lighter, although I know there's not a huge difference between the shoes, but it's that impact that's the most striking, the pitter patter of the Asics shoe, and then the thud, as you can hear, of the Puma shoe. And whereas with the Sky Paris I get a nice ping, and it kind of pings me off the surface. With the Puma shoe I definitely get a thud, and it kind of launches me off the surface. And this, I think, is one of the key differences between the shoes. One, let's go up this hill actually, so sorry if I stop talking, this is going to kill me after the long run I did this morning. But one of the key differences, how they feel to run in. Okay, the Puma feels like you've got to put a lot of power down to get the best out of the shoe, hence really doesn't feel good when you're going slow. But as soon as you start to open up that stride and land with force, that thud you can hear engages the plate, and you get a nice propulsion with the compression decompression of the foam, and it launches you forward. Oh, the hill was good. Both seem pretty good for hills. I'd say slightly better Asics. I think the Sky Paris is just about the best shoe on the marketplace for going up hills. So whenever I've got a race where I know there's going to be hills, this is first in my thoughts. The edge is pretty good as well, so it depends on the type of race, distance and that kind of thing. But anyway, going back to the review, yeah, the Puma shoe comes into its own when you're putting force down, you're lengthening that stride, and you're really kind of pounding the pavement. Whereas I think the Sky, along with the edge as well, encourages you again to lengthen your stride, but also for quicker cadence. It's quite a nimble shoe, and so for bigger runners I think maybe the Puma shoe might actually be more effective, because you're going to hit the ground with more force, you're going to engage, you're going to compress the foam even more than I am, you get that nice decompression, and you also engage that carbon plate. And if you're a forefoot striker, you're also going to engage the lip of the plate and get that extra bit of propulsion, which I don't seem to get, even though I am a forefoot striker, but I've been told by a lot of people they are getting it. So I think it's more maybe to do with the fact I had to go up half a size in this shoe that stops me doing that. But certainly the other shoe, the Sky, it still encourages you to lengthen your stride, but for me it tries to get me to increase my cadence as well. It encourages me, along with the edge. The edge is even more like that. It's got more of a rocker, and it's got the geometry that makes you want to just let rip. In terms of the similarities, there is a similarity between the two, and that's the toe spring. Both got really nice toe springs, so if you're the kind of runner who likes to use their toes, who have got strong feet, somebody who likes to engage that plate and use your toes to spring off, to launch off, these are great shoes. Let me run a bit quicker now. See, when I run quicker, I feel like maybe, just maybe, on the Puma shoe, I'm engaging that lip a little bit. Not lots, but a little bit. Maybe it isn't such a gimmick after all. But both shoes are really good at going fast. Both feel pretty good at the moment actually. My legs feel a bit trashed from a run early in the day. But yeah, so maybe Puma shoe maybe slightly better at the faster speeds, but quite similar really. Not a lot in it. What I do notice is I feel like I'm getting a bit more protection in the Puma shoe, which is ironic given that it's got lower stack in the forefoot, so it must be to do with the foam and how cushioned that foam is. That Aliphatic TPEE Nitro foam that is so good. Puma have nailed it with that foam, really have got the best of both worlds. Got a really nice bouncy compliant foam, but firm enough to not feel like your feet are having to do too much work, which is a problem in some of the softer shoes, particularly I found in the Endorphin Elite V2, which left my foot a bit of a mess after a recent half marathon. I haven't really recovered. I think it's done some kind of damage to it. I just got to live with it probably until I have a mini break, maybe end of June, July, so I can get ready for New York. I'll need at least a week or so downtime. I'll see if I can sort it out then. But going back to the shoes, let me heel strike now in both. Right, so definitely the Asics shoe feels less weird when I'm heel striking. By heel striking I mean I'm landing flat, so the heel is the first thing to touch the ground, right, and then I roll through. And with the Asics shoe, feels a bit more natural. Puma shoe definitely feels quite soft in the heel, and I feel a little bit sloppy in terms of transitioning onto the forefoot. Definitely neither of these seem like a heel striker's heaven shoe, if that's a phrase I can use, but certainly the Asics shoe seems a little bit more forgiving in that respect. So little summary: both shoes really good for toe spring. The Asics shoe I feel like I engage in the plate a little bit more because the plate position is higher. The Puma shoe though, the foam, I'm getting a really good decompression from the foam, slightly more than I am in this FF Turbo Plus Puma that's in the Metaspeed Sky Paris. The Sky seems lighter, but not a huge amount in that. I don't even know if it is lighter. Well, because I had to go up half a size in Puma, so I couldn't get my size 9. Maybe it is lighter, but I think if they were both size 9, it wouldn't be. And in terms of comfort, both pretty similar. I'm thinking maybe the Puma shoe feels a bit more cushioned, and I think that's to do with the foam, to be honest. But the Asics shoe feels like I'm getting a quicker response back from the foam. There's less compression, and I'm getting quicker decompression, if you know what I mean. But both have decent bounce. It's going to be a really hard one to measure, this one. I think it'll come down to some subtle differences But all in all, both incredible shoes, both good for going fast obviously, both reasonably comfortable. I feel like slightly more stable in the Asics shoe, Sky Paris, even though it's got less of a landing area. Just feels a more natural shoe to run in, and that's a key point here. I think the Asics shoe will suit people who like more of a natural feel than the more aggressive Puma shoe. That's all folks, hopefully that was good for you. I'll see you soon, bye bye. Before we launch into some key categories around these two shoes, let's first go through some key stats for those that know nothing about them. So let's go with the Puma shoe first. With the Puma Fastar Nitro Elite 3, we have a weight in my UK 9.5 of around 190 grams. So that's pretty light, to be honest. I went up half a size. I think you'll be okay going true to size in this shoe. It does run long. Just be careful though, if you've got wide feet, you might find this toe cap area, it tapers in quite dramatically. It might rub your toes. So just bear that in mind if you have wide feet. But otherwise, I think go true to size in this shoe. You can reduce the weight a little bit as well if you do that. And you're more likely to engage the plate, which comes right over the top of the end of the shoe here, and it gives it a nice lip that you can toe off with. But we'll talk about that a bit later. In terms of stack heights, you've got a 40mm stack height at the heel. You've got a 32 in the forefoot, giving you an 8mm drop. It feels less than 8mm to me. It feels around about 6. So don't let the drop put you off. I think it feels a flatter shoe than that, but that's because I think the foam compresses a little bit. It's not the softest of foam, as we'll talk about when we talk about midsole, but it does compress a little bit. Okay, so that's the Puma shoe. Some key stats about the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. Again, a really light shoe. This is 186 grams in my UK size 9, so even lighter. But this is a size 9, not a 9.5. So I think they're comparable, to be honest. So I don't think weight is a factor at all when choosing between these shoes. Stack height wise, could be a factor. You've got 40mm in the heel, but this time you've got 34mm in the forefoot, giving you an actual 6mm drop. So in theory, you've got more foam if you land here in the forefoot like I do. And it does feel nice and cushioned actually when you land around about here in the forefoot. So that's quite nice for forefoot strikers like someone like myself. But they're the key stats around this shoe. I think they match up pretty similar in that respect. But let's talk a little bit more about the specifics of the shoe. Let's start with the upper. So in the Puma shoe, you've got this really lightweight mesh upper. You can see through it, it's translucent. As you can see, my fingers. Sorry about this light, it's a bit sunny today, but anyway, I'll do my best. Yeah, it's really lightweight, but it nicely hugs your foot. It wraps around your foot and keeps your foot in place. I don't have any lockdown issues in this shoe, which is actually quite surprising given that the tongue is pretty rubbish. It's paper thin. It's hard to actually get it in place. And the pillow that you can see there doesn't come up high enough to be able to cinch your laces really tightly over your foot. But that said, the shoe itself, I think, keeps your foot nicely in place. And that's partly to do with the nice heel collar. It's a little bit padded and this kind of semi-rigid heel counter. But also I think it's to do with this narrow midfoot area. You see here, you can see here how it narrows in the midfoot. That keeps your foot nice and locked in. You don't have real much in terms of sidewalls, but it does nicely keep your foot locked, which is a key feature of this upper. I think this upper is one of the best uppers out there. I think it's right up there with the Alpha Fly 3 upper. I think for me, it's a 5 out of 5. I'm only let down by the tongue really, and I'm kind of forgiving it for that just one discretion. I think for the next version of this, wouldn't it be great if that tongue was gusseted and you had a really nice wrap-around sock-like feel to this upper? Then it would be perfect. Probably even better than the Alpha Fly. But for now, that's the one area in the upper that I think needs a bit of work. The laces are absolutely fine as well. So that's the Puma shoe in terms of the upper. In the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, again, you've got a mesh upper, not quite as lightweight, a bit more scratchy. Again, you can see through it, it's got these perforations, but again, it's not what I would say is the lightest of uppers. It's pretty light, but it's not like the Puma shoe. Again, it's a kind of simple upper, nicely wraps around your foot. The area here is narrow-ish, as is the Puma shoe. You can kind of see they're very similar in that respect. But again, I have no toe rubbing issues with this shoe. I went size 9, and that fits me rather well. The tongue is fine, it's nothing incredible. It's a bit thicker than the Puma shoe, so you can cinch your laces a little bit. And the actual laces themselves are these perforated laces, and you can see there, they're really good. Better laces than on the Puma shoe. Probably as good as the ones you get if you've got the Nike Alpha Fly, for instance. You'll know what I mean. It's got a nice heel collar, padded, and again a semi-rigid heel counter, very similar in that respect to the Puma shoe. I have no lockdown issues with this shoe as well. Again, I think it's right up there, but I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5. I think the fact that the Puma upper just feels a lot lighter and a bit more breathable wins it for me, although the laces and the tongue in this shoe are slightly better. So if that's a big thing for you, then maybe you would prefer the Asics Metaspeed Sky upper. That's the upper. Now let's talk about the outsole. So Puma outsole, you've got the legendary Puma grip. But what I would say this time is it's a lot thinner, this grip. And it's also starting to mark up a lot in the forefoot area. You can see all these dints. Now I did take this off-road recently, so that might account for some of these dints. But even so, I would expect to see less abrasions and dints than that, to be honest, already. I'm slightly worried about the durability of this shoe. It might be just cosmetic, but it's not a good sign. Grip wise though, it's been perfectly fine, had no issues with grip. As usual, Puma do a really good job making sure that their shoes, their road shoes, are really grippy on wet surfaces, and I have used this on a wet surface and it was absolutely fine. So I would say 4.5 out of 5. The only mark down is the slightly, worn already forefoot area where you can see the dints that have already started to show through. So that's the Puma shoe. Oh, you can see the plate, by the way, sticking through. It's a plate that's got some cutouts in, so it's kind of a semi-flexible plate, which we'll talk about a bit later. With the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, you can see straight away you cannot see any plate. There's no cutouts here. It's quite unique often with super racing shoes. They like to cut things out a little bit. Well, for this version, you don't have any cutouts. You've got minimal rubber, Asics rubber, but where you've got it, it covers all the key areas where you land. It's actually really good, this grip, actually, considering there's not much of it. It's really grippy, and I've used this on many a wet day and it performs really well. So again, I'm going to give this 4.5 out of 5. Again, the only mark down is not to do with durability. It's worn quite well. It's more to do with the lack of rubber coverage. But all in all, it does its job really well, which is to make sure that you don't slip around when the surface is skiddy. Outsole. Now let's talk about midsoles, where it gets interesting. So you've got this Aliphatic TPEU midsole in the Puma shoe. Boy, what a midsole this is. So let's talk first about the foam. The foam is really nice and springy. You've got this nice compression, decompression. It's kind of somewhere, it's not soft, but then it's not firm. It's somewhere in between. It's just about perfect. When you land and you land with force, like me around here, you get this nice compression, decompression, bounce. It's not the most extraordinary bounce, but you do get a really nice bounce from this. Your foot doesn't feel like it sinks too much into the foam, but you do get a nice compression and decompression. The plate configuration is quite low, as you can see there, compared to the Asics shoe that we'll talk about in a minute, which means that you do engage the plate, but you've got this huge amount of foam before you do that compresses, and then you can feel the plate being engaged, and then you can feel yourself getting launched forward. It's got quite an aggressive rocker, which means that if, like me, you like that, it means you flow very nicely in this shoe. You land and it rolls you forward, and you get a nice toe spring. And if you can engage this lip, which is actually the extended plate here, you get a really nice spring forward. I feel like I don't engage that enough. Maybe I can't run quick enough in this shoe to engage that, or maybe it's to do with the sizing. You know, I went up half a size when I probably shouldn't have. But all in all, I think the midsole does its job. It's one of the best out there. What I really liked about this midsole recently in the Hackney Half Marathon is there was no bottoming out, and it seemed to get better and better as the race went on, which I think feels different to me than many shoes. Like, for instance, the Hoka X1 2.0, which is one of my favourite shoes. At the end of the marathon, the London Marathon, I felt like the foam deadened a bit. Whereas this, in the half marathon, albeit not a marathon, felt like it was coming alive. So it gives me hope that this would be quite a nice shoe to go the full distance, the full marathon distance in. Just bear in mind, I did have some calf, not strains, but soreness after racing in this shoe after that half marathon in particular. So I think because of its aggressive nature, I think it's quite taxing on your calf. So that might be an issue if you have calf issues. If you land in the forefoot, you're getting the benefit of this nice springy launch pad. Midfoot, you've obviously got this cutout, but still feels okay. But and the heel, because of this cutaway, if you land further back, you're fighting getting over this heel bevel, so that you're fighting the transition from heel to forefoot. So just bear that in mind. If you're someone who really does land back here, or will land back here in the longer races, then you might be fighting the shoe a little bit later on into those races. But then, for me, that's a good overview of the midsole on the Puma shoe. With the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, you've got this really nice FF Turbo Plus Puma foam. What you've got is a higher plate configuration. Now this is important because when I land on the forefoot here, I feel the foam compressing, but I feel like the plate engaging pretty early. And rather than being a long action and decompression, it's very quick. So that's why I get this kind of more like a patter feeling rather than a thud that I get with this. I get less of that elongated compression and decompression. I get that energy return quickly with this shoe, and I think that's one of its core strengths. I get a little bit more vertical movement with this shoe. It launches me a little bit more vertical rather than forward like I do get in the Puma. Don't get me wrong, this does launch me forward, but I feel like I'm in the air a bit more in this shoe than I am with the Puma shoe, which makes me think those efficiency gains they talk about with the Puma shoe, that's probably where it comes from, how it launches you forward and you spend less time in the air, which is obviously a good thing if you're looking at running economy and efficiency. But that said, it's got a lovely feel to it, this shoe. Amazing for going uphill. So if you're one of these people who does half marathons or marathons that are hilly, you're going to love this shoe. It's so light, so bouncy. It feels like you've got nothing on your feet and you're able to scamper up those hills without really knowing about it in this shoe. It's my favourite shoe for going up hills. I've got a 10K coming up in Chingford with my club. That's got a couple of nasty hills in it, so this could be my shoe of choice. I have to make my mind up this week about that, maybe this weekend. But all in all, great great midsole. I would say the geometry though, it's not got as aggressive a rocker. You can see that there. It's not got as early stage of a rocker. So for those who like a really rockered ride like I do, yeah, you end up using your foot a little bit more in this shoe and you get less roll through from the rocker. That's not a problem. Some people like that. It's just to make you aware that if you really like those rockered rides, I like saying that, like you get with the Cielo X1 2.0, like you get with this shoe, like you get with the Edge version of the Metaspeeds, you may not like this as much. Both shoes give you a really nice toe spring. I say slightly feels slightly more natural and better in this shoe than it does in the Puma shoe, but I think that's partly because I'm a lighter runner. I'm not engaging the plate quite as much in this shoe as I am in the Asics, and I'm not quite getting that ping that I do in the Asics shoe. So for lighter runners, you might prefer this shoe because it's very nimble and you get that nice little pitter-patter ping. Whereas with this, it's more of a thud and compression, decompression. And I think to get the most out of the shoe, you've got to really hit the ground with force. Okay, so that's the midsole. Let's talk about some key categories. So first of all, stability, which is I know is a big thing for a lot of you out there. Neither shoe are massively good in that respect. If you have a look at the forefoot areas, they're similar, but I think all in all, very similar actually. I would say slightly more surface area in the Puma shoe, but the Asics shoe hasn't got the cutout. So, and I find this quite a stable shoe, to be honest, particularly if you're landing on the forefoot. So I'm going to give the stability slightly to the Asics shoe. I mean, neither are stable. This is a 3, this is a 2.5 out of 5 with the cutout, and also sometimes when I launch myself down with this, I get a slight irregular bounce. So all in all, I think it's not the most stable shoe, but it's pretty good. Durability, well, as you know, we've got some dents in this shoe already, the Puma shoe. I'm not sure how durable this is going to be, whereas I know this shoe has been durable. You know, I've used this on quite a lot of 10Ks, quite a few runs now, and you're getting some wear a little bit in this exposed foam area, but so far it's been pretty durable. So in terms of scores, just because of those dents, I think, and they may be unfounded, I'm going to give this one a 2.5, and I give this one a 3.5 to the Asics, slightly more promising in terms of durability, I believe. Right, let's talk about speed, because that's, let's be honest, that's one of the key categories here. This is one where I think the Puma shoe wins out, just because when I start to up my cadence, when I start to put my foot down, when I start to put force through my stride, this comes alive, and I'm getting so much energy return from it when I do that. Up until then, I feel this actually maybe is a quicker shoe and encourages more cadence, but when I'm really going for it, I think this is where this shoe comes into its own, and I think this is possibly one of the quickest shoes out there. It could be as quick as the Edge Paris, you know, in my shoe collection, just because of the force and the energy return you get from putting down that force. It encourages you to lengthen your stride and quicken your cadence in a way that this shoe doesn't quite do the same. It does encourage you to increase your cadence, but it doesn't quite make me want to reach a little bit forward with those legs of mine. So I'd say this slightly takes it, but this is the Asics is a very quick shoe in its own right. There's not a lot to choose between the two, but if I had to say one or the other, I'd go with the Puma shoe. You need to be on form though when you're running this shoe. You need to be, you know, running in a powerful way, really going for it. Otherwise, you're better off with the Metaspeed Sky Paris. So that's speed. In terms of price, there's only one winner. The Asics shoes £220. This is £260. Might not seem like a lot, but £40 is a lot. So for me, you know, this is priced correctly, this is overpriced. And Puma, take note, I think if you drop this to a similar sort of price, you've got a lot more sales and it'd be a lot more reasonably priced for people out there who, let's be honest, these are expensive shoes. So every bit you can save, you know, is useful really. So that's priced. In terms of racing, so this is a tricky one. I think for 5K, I would go with the Puma shoe. I think for 10K, I would just go with Puma shoe, but it's very close at that point. Half marathon, I would be going with the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. I think this is a perfect half marathon shoe. And full marathon, I'm not running on either of these full marathon. I'm just gonna go with the Asics shoe just because of how light and nimble and how more of a regular bounce it has, but I could be wrong here because this seemed to get better and better, this foam, the longer I went in that half marathon. It felt a bit sloppy at the start, but as I kicked in and as I got going, it felt better. So it's so close. It's almost like a tie. In terms of who I think these shoes would be good for, if you're a powerful, heavier runner, if you land on your forefoot, you like to toe off, it's a Puma shoe. If you're lighter, like a more nimble experience, someone who's more of a cadence runner, somebody who likes to get real quick turnover, likes that pitter patter, doesn't spend a lot of time on the ground, I think the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris is the shoe for you. If you're a heel striker, slightly going with the Asics shoe. Midfoot, pretty similar, to be honest. I think this is more about the style of runner you are and how heavy you are. And I think the heavier you are, the better this Puma shoe will be. And the harder it will be to run in the Asics shoe. But I think for those of us who are lighter, who like that quick turnover, who like to spend very little time with their foot on the floor, I think the Asics shoe is hard to beat. It's pretty much the best shoe out there, basically on the marketplace. So overall, this is such a tough one, and my heart says I should go with the Puma shoe, but my head is saying actually the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris is the better all-round shoe. And you know, I'll qualify that. I think there are more runners who will get more out of this shoe. I think the top end runners that can put down a lot of force and power will really find this efficient, and those efficiency gains that are talked about in the study, I think will be completely valid for those kind of runners. For us more mere mortals, I think most of us will get more out of this shoe. The problem with this shoe is it's quite small and narrow, so some of you might feel it's a little bit unstable, particularly if you heel strike. But I just feel for the majority of us, I think this will be the safer bet, and the Puma will be that riskier, let's have it kind of shoe, which makes me think I should be going for it, right? Because that's my motto, let's have it. But I'm just going to say today, the winner is this shoe, the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, for those reasons alone. But it's a close one, and it could really have gone either way, this one. Both top shoes, can't go wrong with either, but I just give it to this shoe, which I think was pretty much the best racing shoe of last year. You know, for those that want to go quick, but also want that kind of like really nice, light, airy, pitter-patter kind of fast cadence kind of ride. This is the ultimate shoe, and it still remains the ultimate shoe. Really looking forward to the new releases of the Edge and Sky Tokyo, they'll be called, and the Asics Ray, which is really a shoe that I want to get on my feet, because I think that could be perfect for me. But the The versions that we have today are pretty much some of the best shoes out there, the Edge and Sky Paris, and I would give today's verdict slightly to the Sky Paris. But if you go with this, that wouldn't be wrong either. The Puma shoe is an amazing shoe, and like I said, you can't go wrong with either. I hope this has been useful. Put in the comments if you disagree with me, but if you don't and you do agree with me, also put in the comments why you agree with me. All right, I'll see you later. Rambling now. Love you all. Bye bye. Let's have it.